Hello, my name is Anna Buzzalino, and I'm a fiber artist, teacher, and lecturer living in Calgary, Alberta. I'm so very happy to be here today, sharing my process and the thoughts that went into creating the woman who is alone and waits, or in Spanish, la mujer que está sola y espera. So there is a really interesting story, or interesting to me at least, behind this piece, because it was inspired by an article that I cut out from a magazine when I was living at home in Buenos Aires, Argentina. That's where I come from. It was 1982. And I remember reading this small article written by a gentleman by the name of Juan Rofo. And he wrote a series of, small articles. They were sort of editorials, and they were called From My Balcony. So they were almost observations of life in Buenos Aires from the balcony in his apartment. And this one was very aptly called The Woman Who is Alone and Waits. And the article is all about this woman who is standing at a corner, leaning against a wall, and she's waiting. And she's not waiting for a bus because she is not standing by the bus stop. So, she is just standing there waiting. And there are people walking down the street. This is a busy street and a busy intersection. So there are people walking by her, and some people sort of look at her and keep walking. And there is this gentleman who walks by her and looks at her, and then, takes a few extra steps, and then all of a sudden turns around and walks past her again, and goes a little bit further the other way, and then stares at a window, turns around, walks past her, and tries to make eye contact, and starts saying sweet nothings to her. And this woman is just, not paying attention, not making eye contact. And all of a sudden, she has this big smile on her face and runs towards a man who is walking towards her very fast, and looking at his watch and apologizing profusely for being late. And so she throws herself into his arms and hugs him and grabs him by the arm and starts walking away. And the gentleman is sort of looking at her like thinking, what is going on here? You're so effusive and so, and she looks back, and this other man who had been trying to engage her and throws him a look like saying, see, silly, this is my man. And she walks away. So the other gentleman walks a couple of steps and stares at a window without really focusing. And all of a sudden, he realizes that he's looking in a lingerie shop. So he shakes himself and turns away and walks away, hoping to meet a woman who is alone and waits just like him. So that's a long way of telling you the inspiration for my story. So when I decided to work with this piece, and I have kept this piece of newspaper for, since 1982, and I moved to Canada, and it was kept in an old agenda from 1984, where I used to take a lot of notes. So one day I was looking through it for some reason, and I found this article, and I decided that I needed to do something with it. So this is the piece that came, after lots and lots of years, as you can tell. of thinking about it and trying to come up with an idea to make it justice. So the piece that I sent and to Grand National was made in stages, as much of my work is. So the top part, the lighter part of the piece was done by writing with a cola pen with diluted India ink. So there are a couple of layers of that text that is not necessarily legible, but I know is there. The middle thin part of it is a piece of fabric that has organza fused to it, and the organza has been rusted with text through a screen. And then the bottom part of it is a piece of fabric that was hand dyed and hand painted, and has the entire article quilted on the bottom piece over and over and over again to cover the piece of fabric. So those are the main three parts of it. So the top part is very densely stitched, about 1/16 of an inch by machine on a domestic sewing machine. And then the top part that you see on it, which is it's a paper lamination. So if you don't know what a paper lamination is, it's a technique where you basically make a collage of papers or images. I was using mostly images from newspapers, but I also used images from magazines that I photocopied on laser copy. And then you make your collage, and once your collage is made, you put a layer of polyester organza on top, pin it properly, and using a screen for screen printing that I made myself from a couple of different hand drawings and images that I had. Then you use a matte medium to go through the screen, and that attaches your organza to the paper. You let it dry very, very well. And once it's dry, you heat set it, and then very gently put it in a bucket of water, let it soak for about 15 minutes, and then you spend quite a few hours rubbing the paper from behind. And what you get is, in this case, the top of my piece, which is the woman who is leaning against a wall, waiting. So this piece took me a few years to create, I have to say, because I worked for a long time to find the proper image. I wasn't sure what image I wanted to use or how I wanted to create my image. I went through stages of using a photo transfer or a line drawing that I could use. And then one day it just came to me that I could do this this paper lamination, and it was a new for me because I usually do paper lamination in a different way, a little bit in a different way. So this was a new experiment for me, and I'm really happy the way it turned out. So I was very excited when this piece got included in the Grand National exhibition Crossroads. And so I hope that you enjoy looking at it and making your own stories of what this woman who is leaning against a wall is doing. Enjoy the exhibit, and thank you very much.